Hello guys, I'm Savvy and welcome back to another Kerbal Space Program video. In this one, we are going to be doing a really fun mission that is going to take us to the planet Dres. Now, I've been to Dres a few times, and I actually have done this during my streaming series of my career mode of Kerbal Space Program. And let me tell you, Dres, I do not have a fun time with it. It is my least favorite planet in Kerbal Space Program, and a couple reasons for that is because, I'm already off the bat going very negative here, but right off the bat, just wanted to say that, it's not really that interesting. It's an eccentric orbit. It's based off the dwarf planet of Ceres, which is in the asteroid belt, so that's what Dres is based off of. But I thought I'd just do a mission like this because it'd just be interesting because I don't know how many KSP players actually like Dres or find it that interesting. I'm pretty sure it's very few and far between, but if you guys like it, if you like it, you can let me know in the comments down below. Or um, you know, if you could leave a like maybe if you like Dres or really any other planet in the Kerbal system. But as you can see, I'm actually building a rover in this video, which I thought would be a good idea because I did land Kerbals on Dres before, and it was a good, interesting mission that I was doing. It's just a pain in the butt to get back home, having to wait so long and everything, and I need to get better with maneuvering and everything. But yeah, but this time we actually do quite well, as you'll see later on. But as I'm building this, I thought of a really different design because I went around and I put batteries on here. I put pretty much all the essentials, science related things, batteries and whatnot. I also decided to add a thermoelectric generator instead of solar panels just because of how far we are away from Kerbal, or if you want to call it the sun, in the Kerbal system, in the perspective of Kerbals. A thermoelectric generator is a lot better just because it'll just keep producing power for a very, very, very long time. And it can last super long. And so I decided to add large batteries here. And then I also decided to do a different design this time. And I think it could be the standard for future rover missions that I decide to do in the Kerbal Space Program, which, speaking of other missions and stuff, there's more mods that I decided to add into the game that I will have to go through and add into the description because there's a whole slew of not a whole slew, but there's a few new mods that I've added. I actually had to go back and re-add all the mods and everything that I had because some of them weren't working properly, but this time they are. And one of the best ones that I'm using is True Volumetric Clouds, which is really good, which is from BlackRack or Lynx, I believe it's Lynx. And then you have Parallax Continued, which is really good. No, I'm sorry, BlackRack is True Volumetrics, and then you have Parallax Continued, which is by Lynx. It's really good, and I do recommend it. So I'll put a list of all the mods in the description down below in case you guys want to do that. And I guess early on here, if you're still watching this at this point, which, there's still a lot of the video left to go, but I know that sometimes some people watch a little bit at a time, or sometimes they'll click on it, watch, and then probably not be like, I want to watch something else. I'm like that sometimes, so I understand that. But you guys can hit that like button and hit that subscribe button as well because it really helps out a lot. So this is the design that I'm going with. I'm gonna be all over the place explaining and everything because my mind just goes all over the place sometimes. So I decided to add a middle fuel tank there and then added some struts, or not really struts, but just structural pieces on the side, and I did 3 of them, and then I was also trying to find this cone here. And then I decided to do something different with the engines because instead of the Terrier engine that we have there, I used to go with a much smaller type of engine, and it took me a minute to find it because I saw it and then I lost it again because I had to remove the other engines and I lost my positioning of it. But then I actually find it. Once again, I place it there. Now, it doesn't cover the whole bottom part of those fuel tanks, but that's totally okay. It's totally fine because they're stronger than the Terrier engine, despite the fact that the Terrier engine is a larger size. And you can see that this design where the rover is suspended in the middle, just like that. That's the center piece or the core that's being added there. And then I add fuel tanks on the bottom part because obviously we have to lift this thing up and get to Dres there. And then at the top, you'll see that I'll add a little bit more. But to point out what I'm doing here is I'm adding little fuel tanks that are here, which I like to do this because instead of just making a really tall rocket and having to deal with the fact that, oh, is the center of mass, is it is it low enough? Is it not low enough? So instead, I decided to add them around the entire fuel tank, and it just makes it better, and I think it looks better too. I really think so. But you guys can definitely give that a try. And I do that with a lot of my rockets. It just saves a lot more space, I think. No pun intended, because of the game that we're playing here, and the video that's related to this. But yeah, I finished that stage, and then that whole entire thing is going to be shrouded by that. And then you could also see that I added a Probodobodine, like the highest tier Probodobodine that there is, because I need it to have control at the very top than the rover, because the rover doesn't really have that much. I mean, it has some control, but it's meant for going on the ground, moving around on the ground and everything, but not so much for rocket control. So I decided to add the Probodobodine at the top, and then things work out in the end with that. Things do work out with this once we launch this. And then I decided to manually strut some of these parts here because I don't think auto strut was going to be able to do it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to strut 3 at those fuel tanks there, and then I'm also going to strut 3 at the core or the rover itself because it's definitely a lot better that way. Then I add these large tanks on the bottom, and then I also try to figure out what kind of engine I want to use because I would keep checking my thrust to weight ratio every time, which if you guys haven't seen my thrust to weight ratio video, I can link it at the end of this video, and you guys can check that out, as well as my stream, as well as my Dres stream mission, so I can link both of those, and then a playlist of probably not Kerbal, just 2 Kerbal related videos, and then a playlist of whatever. But anyway, so I go through the different engines here that are also part of mods too. They're part mods. I do need to get, however, engine mounts. Now there are technically kind of ones that I have, but they're not the ones that I had previously. And I need to get those again, so that way I can have proper engine plates, because with the ones that I use in the structural section, which that's typically where those engine plates are, they don't shroud well enough with a decoupler, and I don't know why they don't do that. I think it's just the way that they're designed and everything, but whatever. But yeah, anyway, this rocket looks pretty good, and I named it Drestastic just because, sometimes I'm not that creative with names, and then other times I'm like, this would be an interesting name. And then everything looks good. Then I also had to rearrange some of those, some of the staging there because I knew that the decouplers were not good, or the stack separators were not in their proper place. But here we go. And I'm going to slow this bit down here in just a minute when we launch, because you're going to hear this beautiful sound. Yeah, we have beautiful liftoff there, and the audio just cuts out right there, but that's okay. So we are lifting off here, and we are heading into space, which is pretty awesome. And what's interesting is that almost half of this video is just me building the rocket, which it takes me a while to build these rockets though, because they do take a lot of concentration. And I know for somebody like Matt Lown, who has done, if you haven't checked out any of his videos, Matt Lown is amazing. Mattlowne, Matt Lown. You guys can check him out on YouTube if you want to. He does a lot of Kerbal Space Program content, so I would recommend you guys watching that, watching any of his content there. But the reference I make with that is because he doesn't take. I mean, he speeds up his videos when he builds his rockets, like how I sped up time here when I built this rocket here. However, I think he already has a design in mind because I believe beforehand he decides to kind of make his own designs or maybe draw or at least like lay out sort of how his rockets want to look and what the purpose of the mission is, which I already have an idea of what the mission is, like how I thought about going to Dres and putting a rover there because we did with one with Duna, we did one with the Mun, we did one with Minmus. And we haven't done one with Dres, so we're just going to keep going farther out into the Kerbal system. I don't think we've done one with Ike though. I can't remember. I have to go back and check my videos, but I don't think I've done with Ike. And the ones for Jool's moons are going to be quite interesting. And it would defeat the purpose to try to take a rover to Jool. Although it would be a funny video to do that, where I'd just be like, I take a rover to Jool because why not? Just because I can. But yeah, you can see how I'm just positioning my trajectory here, which beforehand, which I need to do this all the time, I set my trajectory early before I started recording the video, so that way I know, like, okay, Kerbin's in the right position, right transfer window for Dres and everything, so it works out in the end there. But it does take quite a bit of delta V. It takes a lot of delta V to get there, but also because of Dres's eccentric orbit, you also have to lift up your trajectory as well by burning in the normal direction, which is the pink triangle that points up, and that makes it easy. That gives us a pretty cool encounter there. So as you can see here, we are burning away our fuel here. And one interesting thing that I will say that was kind of a silly mistake on my part, but I'll kind of foreshadow that, is when we reach Dres, something weird happens, but we get to Dres, but yeah, it's gonna be a bit silly with how we got there. But anyway, so as you can see, I also decided to do two maneuver nodes, one for the initial burn, the initial positioning that we have, and then a second one so that way I can just see if I can get close to Dres or if I can meet up with Dres, which you can see there. I'm able to meet up with it, and then I just tweak the periapsis a little bit because I want to go in on the sides, and since Dres has no atmosphere, it's pretty much like the Mun or Minmus, no atmosphere at all. Gilly, any other celestial body in the vanilla game that you can name, that it pretty much has no atmosphere. So the best thing to do for this, and really I recommend it to going to any planet whatsoever, is unless there's a contract that tells you to have your rocket or your satellite or whatever go in a particular orbit around the celestial body. You want to go on the opposite side of how the planet or moon is rotating. So let's say, all of them, I believe, rotate clockwise. So you want to go around the planet or moon counterclockwise. You want to enter on the counterclockwise side. So in this case, the left side of the planet, because as it's rotating in that direction, you're going to go the opposite direction. I'm sorry, it rotates counterclockwise. You want to go on the left side, so that way you start rotating clockwise. That's what I meant. I said that backwards. But even in that case, it's just if one goes clockwise, you just go the opposite direction, and vice versa, whatever it may be. Because what happens is that rotation is, I don't know how strong the physics are with this game, but realistically, like if you do that, that slows you down a lot more because of the tidal forces that are going to pull you back a little bit. Now, it doesn't, I mean, if you're going like thousands of meters per second, like how we do here, you're going to need a lot more energy, a lot more power in order for you to slow down all the way to get yourself into orbit. But it gives you a little bit of that assistance there for you to get into orbit. And it's much easier with a planet that has an atmosphere, or even a moon that has an atmosphere, like Lathe, for example, because you can do what's called aerobraking, where you just go down into the atmosphere a little bit, not all the way, obviously, because you're not wanting to land directly. You're wanting to get into orbit, so you just dip down into the atmosphere a little bit, skid across the atmosphere, and you'll start to slow down significantly, which aerobraking is much more efficient in getting to orbit around something than it is obviously to burn outside of its atmosphere. But when you have a celestial body that has no atmosphere, all you have to do and all you can do is just burn. Just burn all the fuel. So this is a silly part that I mentioned a little bit ago. So because I was behind Dres, we had no communication with the KSC. So I had to wait until we were on the other side of Dres for me to burn. So we're kind of way out of the way of the maneuver node that I put there. So it was a bit silly, and I was like, okay, come on, work here, work here. And so far, what's interesting, I have not done a single quick save in this, which I don't know why. There are times where I just forget to quick save because I think, oh, I think I'm competent enough to do this in one go without it because I have enough delta V and stuff in case I make mistakes or whatever, which is true. But at the same time, it's like quick saves do help you in case you do mess up, which I've gotten more in the habit of doing so. Also, I want to take a screenshot here real quick because that was a really cool thing, and I think that I might use that for the thumbnail. And I've gotten more in the habit of using quick saves, at least during my live streams, because uh, a lot can happen during live streams because that takes away a lot more time. But we finally get into orbit around Dres, and then I want to get into a position. I don't really have a particular place of where to land this thing, so I'm just thinking, you know what? We're just gonna pick a spot, and I'm just gonna burn. That's all I'm gonna do. That's all I'm gonna do. Just pick a spot and then burn. And I could have used, I can use the entirety of the bottom stage, but honestly, I do have enough, as you can see, enough delta V there to slow me down way, like, significantly and be able to probably even land with this bottom stage here. But here in a minute, you'll see that I don't necessarily use all the fuel there because I'm like, well, I still have like 2,000, like 2,800 delta V in this top stage here, which I probably only needed 2 of those tanks. I didn't need 3 of them. And I probably could have used like a smaller version of that or just the tank itself instead of putting all those little tanks around it. That probably would have been better. So I just decouple that, and then we're left with the rover that's here, and we slowly make our way down. Now here's another part that's going to be quite silly that I had to make some corrections with, and keep in mind I didn't quick save. I did not quick save, which was very annoying of me to not do that. But we slowly start getting ourselves to the surface, and we touch down. Now, I was hoping to land on the surface and be able to sit still, but that didn't work out because what I was hoping is still be able to burn this off here. And I was trying to twist this around to try to bump into the rover there, but that didn't work because you could see that I got stuck there. So then my next best thing to do was just get rid of the top stage, just launch it away, just let it do a thing, and then it'll explode over there in the distance. So I tried my best to move around, and it didn't work. But this is not the end of the video where it's just ending in tragedy. And I thought like, maybe if I just, put this away, the relay antenna away, then it'll be fine. So I decided to use a cheat panel to put me in the correct position, to put me right side up instead of, sideways, which, yes, I know it's cheating, but this doesn't mean that the vessel wasn't going to work at all. If I were to have landed on a smoother part of Dres, it would have been a lot better, and my plan would have been executed a lot better too, which is why I should have done the quick save, because the quick save would have been a lot better. And I don't use the cheat panel just once. I think I use it 3 times here because I go a little too fast, and I think the wheels, I should have put 6 wheels instead of 4. Yeah, I used the third time there. I used 6 wheels instead of, I should have used 6 wheels instead of 4 because I would have had more control over it, because as you can see, I like drift around because the back wheels, and I also tried to fix it, but it didn't work. Also, because the parallax continued, there is an option that you can turn off where those rocks don't have collision at all, which probably would have been a good idea in this part, because as you could see, I was having difficulty driving around with it because I kept getting stuck on these little rocks that were there. And where I'm heading to is that giant rock, that giant crag that's sticking out of the ground there, because in my mind, I was thinking, oh, this will be cool. What kind of science can we get from this? Because, I mean, that looks unique compared to all the other rocks that are around Dres. Because there might be a physical rock that you can find on Dres, but I have no idea where it is, or if there's any at all. No clue whatsoever. If there is one, and if you're watching at this point, guys, be sure to let me know, because, again, I have no clue. But yeah, and as we got closer to this, the terrain got a little bit more trickier. And then as you can see, I don't have a way to scan this rock because but I believe it's still part of Parallax Continued. So I'm like, oh, great. So I just decided to use all these other science things to get some data from it, or to get some cool text or whatever, but I hope you guys did enjoy this. If you did, be sure to leave a like if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate that. And don't forget to hit subscribe as well, because that lets me know that you guys enjoy the content on the channel and would like to see more. I'd also like to give a shout out to all my channel members whose names are put on the screen right now. Thank you for becoming a member, and if you are interested in using exclusive emotes during live streams, or seeing exclusive content on the channel, be sure to hit the join button down below and become a Savvy Superstar or Specialist today. I've been Savvy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. See you later.